Esteemed audience, this is the show where we engage in a battle of wits and not a battle of the fists. This is the Great Debaters Contest, Season 9.
Eastern Region, Machakos County. I am your host, Chris Boru.
And I am Esperancia Kapanga.
Debating on matters agriculture in Africa. We have St. Angela's Kitui girls opposing the motion that states agriculture should occupy a prominent place in Africa's development.
In the proposition are the gentlemen from Mwala School.
Proposal number 1, you have 3 minutes to make a statement.
Okay, do we say a glass is half empty? Let's be optimistic and say it's half full. David Mwangi, Mwala School. Agriculture should occupy a prominent place in Africa's development agenda. I'm here to confidently propose for the motion. 1, visit any website and you'll find that SDGs is one of the popping block-ups. Why should this be? The SDGs, they're abbreviated as the Sustainable Development Goals, is one of the goals that was set to make sure that the economy will develop very fast. Okay, how do we make sure that we meet these goals? 1, talk of the SDG number 1, no poverty. How do we face poverty and make sure we eliminate it? I want to demonstrate how we can, via agriculture, we can use agriculture and make sure that we combat poverty in the third world countries or else the developing countries. Talk of foreign exchange. Not only that, talk of income gained by farmers after they sell their produce, the agricultural produce, that is. The income is enough to raise their social class or else their living standards. Is that not eliminating poverty in the society or else in the countries, the third world countries? It really is. Again, talk of SDG number 2, no hunger or zero hunger. Hunger. Actually, the only means that you can combat hunger is through agriculture. 1, where do we get our food from? Definitely from agriculture. I don't think there is any opposition in this, because for anyone to have a lunch or a supper, a breakfast even, you must depend on agriculture. Talk of the food that we eat. It's not an industrial product, it's a product of agriculture. Again, we have the SDG number 8, talking of decent work and economic growth. Industrial sectors employ most of the citizens of the third world countries, developing countries, or the so-called the Africa countries. 1, talk of the agro-based industries. So many people are working in those sectors. Again, don't focus on yourself on the white-collar jobs. Talk of in the farms, in the plantations. We got so many people working there. This is a clear indication that agriculture is one of the source of employment among citizens of the African countries. This cannot be disputed. We have a clear view of the Serious Board. So many people are working there. That's a board in Kenya, singling Kenya out to make it more clear. Having mentioned all the 3 SDGs that are mostly relies on agriculture, I think that's very much enough to support my point on the importance of agriculture. Again, don't forget the so-called Turudi Mashambani Rain by Mzee Jomo Kenyatta.
First proposal, you have 3 minutes to make your submissions.
Wangari Maathai once said that if you destroy nature, nature is truly unforgiving and it will definitely revenge. If agriculture is made prominent, there is going to be clearance of land and environmental conservation is not going to be observed. Due to deforestation, there is going to be less rainfall, and global warming affected by this is going to affect the general African population. This is going to endanger the lives of very many Africans. Africa is therefore going to have a deficit of many people to develop the nation. For example, according to Wikipedia, there was a flooding in Nigeria, northern Algeria, that killed 800 people and ruined property worth $400 million. In 2012, a drought struck East Africa, and that was named to be the worst drought to ever be experienced in East Africa over the last 60 years. In 2018 August, Mozambique was declared by Red Cross to be having the entire nation facing starvation. This is because of the effects of environmental destruction. My name is Betty Mgoyo Pondoe from St. Angela's Girls, here to firmly oppose the motion that agriculture should occupy a prominent place in Africa's development agenda. The following are the terminologies according to Cambridge Dictionary. Agriculture simply means farming. Occupy means to hold an official position. Prominent means very well known and important. Development means a process in which somebody or something grows or changes and becomes more advanced. Agenda is simply a list of aims or possible future achievement. From Wild Meter's source, Africa is said to be one of the 7 continents of the world, with 55 countries in total and approximately 1.3 trillion population. So, in my opposition, the motion means that farming is not supposed to occupy the main course in Africa's growth. John Williamson came to Africa, particularly Tanzania, and he found Africans dancing with diamonds. What did he do? He bought the diamond mine, and he eventually wound up becoming one of the richest men in the world. What does this mean to us Africans? Africa is richly endowed with very many natural resources. To begin with, Africa is endowed with diamonds in Tanzania, gold in South Africa, and oil in Libya and Nigeria. So, instead of uptaking agriculture, which is not necessarily bound to do well with the dry land and high temperatures and other limiting factors, why not focus on resources which we are very ascertain of whose marketing and purchasing power we are 100% sure of foreign nations that can import them because they lack them. According to Al Jazeera 2018, on February 27th, it was confirmed that 57% of the exports from Africa are mainly minerals. In connection with this, the sub-Saharan Africa's agribusiness sector faces very many challenges. Most crops are produced by small-sized farms with limited mechanization and lack of trained personnel and capacity, leading to poor yields. Therefore, agriculture is not supposed to occupy the prominent position in Africa's development agenda. Thank you.
Second proposal, you have 3 minutes for rebuttal.
Old is gold. It's a cliche. Yes, but not unless you look at it from this point of view. John Mwala School. I stand here to support the motion that agriculture should be given a prominent place in Africa's development. Agriculture is the backbone of many countries' economy in Africa. For instance, in our country, Kenya, agriculture occupies 25% of the DGP, and also 75% of the national labor force. 80% of the country's population live in the rural areas, and so they depend upon agriculture for sustenance. This is adapted from Kenya Bureau of Statistics, 2005. I come from a village whereby people depend upon agriculture for sustenance. They depend upon agriculture for profit and for livelihood. And it has been like so from time immemorial. And these people have lived a good life. Let's have a reality check. Let us look at countries like Egypt and Mesopotamia, countries that have employed agriculture, and it has proved to be successful. Egypt was initially a desert, but after it gave agriculture prominence, it has turned to the productive land it is today. My opponent has said that mining should be given a chance over agriculture. But Yusuf Suleiman once said, for every sector to be said to have developed, it must have first revolved from agriculture in its development, in his philosophy of agricultural development. Agriculture should be given prominence in the country and also in Africa at large, because it is the backbone it is the backbone of every other diaspora in the country. If we embrace agriculture, every other diaspora will raise, because every other thing depends upon agriculture for its growth. Agriculture contributes maximally to the economic development of the country and also the continent at large. So we should embrace agriculture and give agriculture a prominent place in the development of our country's economy. Thank you.
Second opposer, you have 3 minutes for rebuttal.
Agriculture is the backbone of Africa. But what happens when your backbone is broken at a point? Anita Nduku, St. Angela's Girls, ready to strongly oppose the motion that states agriculture should occupy a prominent place in Africa's development agenda. On to my first point, security. Civil wars. African countries have suffered civil wars. Example, Nigeria and currently South Sudan. You cannot take care of your crops knowing that you might be shot dead any minute. And this takes us to this tells us that we should first focus on our security and maintain peace so that we can have a conducive environment to practice agriculture. On to my second point, tourism. Tourism. The World Travel and Tourism Council projects that a total of $296 million will be projected by tourism by 2026. It will also increase 8 million jobs from the currently present 21 million jobs in 2016 to 29 million jobs in 2026. Source according to the World Tourism Organization website, 2016, August 16th. On to my third point, poor leadership exhibited by corruption. We cannot practice agriculture if we have a corrupt society. And by corruption, I mean taking as example of land grabbing. How would you practice agriculture on land which has been grabbed from you? Or maybe, if you find yourself in a situation where you have a land, but someone else claims it and has the correct and every single document that is supposed to be presented so that the land is declared his or hers. We have to make sure that we live in a corruption-free society so that we can be able to practice agriculture. Chinua Achebe said that it is not the air we breathe, or the food we eat, or the water that we drink that is the problem with us, but the problem with Africa is corruption. Thank you.
The proposers have been asked, where do the farmers get capital to start their agricultural projects? The opposers, on the other hand, have been asked, isn't forestry still a part of agriculture? Proposer number 3, you have 3 minutes to respond.
So I would like to quote what the second proposer said about Yusuf. For every sector to have developed, it should have evolved around agriculture. Consider, for agriculture, we do not need any money in order to start agriculture. Consider Egypt. It never had a single coin in order to start agriculture, yet it came into its final destination where it needed to be. Agriculture is a backbone. We have 25% in agriculture. We have 15% in industrial development, and we have 60% on other industrial development sectors. 25% means that agriculture has been given more prominence in Africa in terms of growth in terms of if growth is concerned. Thank you.
That opposer, you have 3 minutes to respond to your question.
With me, I have a photograph. You see this? This is a photograph of a girl almost dying of hunger in South Sudan, in a village known as Ayod. This photograph was taken by an American photographer by the name Kevin Qatar. Christine Brenda from St. Angela's Girls opposing the motion, agriculture should occupy a prominent place in Africa's development agenda. Okay, let me first answer my friend's question. Is forestry agriculture? Yes, it is agriculture. But at which percentage has this forest occupied our land? Considering that Africa has approximately 11.53 square miles, it has occupied only 17%. What happened to the other land? I mean, the other land, people are practicing, people have cut trees, only leaving us with 17%. And again, do we eat forests? We eat food. Forest is not food. In consideration that when we export agricultural products, not forests. So you can't just say that forest is agriculture. Are you opposed to that? On to my point, onto this photograph of this girl. This takes us back in 1993. What was happening in 1993 by then in South Sudan? Yes, the girl was starving. There was no food in the whole country, and this is why. And it being the most influential image of all time in the world, an image that made this man win the Pulitzer Award in New York. It really caused the world attention. And 26 years down the line, we haven't done anything. Nothing has changed in agriculture. Every single day, our brothers and sisters are dying. Last year, Mozambique, people are dying. Just a recent occasion, Baringo, people died. And you still want to focus on agriculture? We have too much things to focus onto. And forget, if plan A fails, what do? Take a plan B. Feed your people. We can't depend on something that has already failed. Thank you.
Proposers, you have 1 minute for a final submission.
Considering all the arguments that have been given before, talk of agriculture as a source of food, talk of agriculture as a source of income, talk of agriculture as a source of foreign exchange. This clearly shows that agriculture is an essential thing in a development of economy of the African countries. Again, we don't have to major on other activities so that we can get employment. Talk of agriculture. Agriculture itself is independently enough to provide agriculture for every person who doesn't have an employment in the third world countries, that is the African countries, I mean.
Opposers, you have 1 minute to make a final submission.
Christine Brenda from St. Angela's Girls, giving my final word. We should not embrace agriculture. First, because agriculture depends on market. In Africa, our market is fragmented. We also focus on the price, on how we are going to sell our products. We don't have price controls. We also focus on infrastructure. That means in transporting and also communication. We have poor infrastructure in the country. So we should now focus on other things. An example, mineral. We have among the top 5 countries in the world that produce oil as a mineral, and 57% of Africa's exports come from minerals. We also have tourism that have created jobs since 2003 to 2013. 21 million job opportunities have been created in Africa. And also, on the year 2026, in the year 2023, we expect an increase of 8 million job opportunities in Africa. Where should you focus in agriculture? In accordance first, agriculture since the year 2003, it has only provided 800 job opportunities in reference to the Grow Africa organization. So please, let us focus on other things and not agriculture. Thank you.
David, you appeared to be very charged to go to the stage, to an extent that you even forgot to define the motion, and that was your duty. So you had very good points, but you failed to define the motion, so you just started off immediately. John, I like the way you speak softly, but in a rather attention-arresting manner. And you gave very good points. I like them, the issue of Mesopotamia and the like, which were very, very good. Felix, I think what has been said, you can do better. Okay. I think just compose yourself. All of us, of course, it's natural to have a stage fright at times, so don't be worried. Just compose yourself, and you can make a very good debater. All said and done for Mwala, I think the points that you brought out on agriculture agriculture should occupy the prominent place came out nicely, and I particularly liked how John brought it up, as I've already said.
Betty, you moved me. The quote you gave and how you made it to be in line with the motion came out so well. You're very passionate, very eloquent, good mastery of content. However, avoid reading a lot. I just gave you marks for good mastery of content because, well, I saw you were reading, but you were trying hard to explain whatever you were reading, but then avoid reading. Anita, your role is to rebuttal. It was not done that well. Pay attention to what the first speaker says, pick some points, and deconstruct them when you come to present. The tourism example, however, came out well. The poor leadership and corruption and its war being prioritized instead of agriculture was equally brought out well, but then check on your time. Utilize your time well, because we penalized you for underutilizing your time. Christine, good response to the question, but then check on the timing. This under style and presentation, time comes in handy. You underutilize it, you overutilize it, you'll get a penalty or a mark for it. So a good debater should be very time conscious.
Mwala School, the judges awarded you 60%. Let's give them a round of applause. St. Angela's Girls, the judges awarded you 67.8%, making you the winners of this debate.
Thank you for tuning in to watch the Great Debaters Contest, because it's the show that gives you the best of the best high school debates. Remember, you can be part of the conversation by following the hashtag GDC for SDGs across our social media platforms.
We would also like to thank all the stakeholders of this show, all the schools that take part, the principals, the patrons, and even the students that stand here to help us learn more. I have been your host, Esperancia Kapanga.
And until the next episode, I am Chris Borro. Stay tuned.